Wagwan, are you multifamily enthusiasts? This is Shelon Hutchinson. My friends in real estate know me as Hutch the Marine Investor. I want to welcome you to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment podcast. Today we have a unique episode for you. See, a lot of us, we have limiting belief of what it takes to really start. We have these big dreams, but sometimes we just don't know how. And society gives us some constraints that we further use to limit us. So today I want to talk to a guest that we're going to ask the question, how do you use home equity line of credits and listen this one, credit cards to actually scale your real estate portfolio? So today our guest is the founder of Golden Investments LLC. He has acquired multifamily properties and is a general partner in a multiple development project in Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina. So our guest, his experience in real estate industry stemmed back in 2004, where he worked as a commercial real estate affiliate broker while earning his degree in business and real estate urban development. Later, he transitioned into commercial real estate property management, where he managed over 1 million square feet of retail, office, and industrial property. So our guest, Corri Golden, has been investing in real estate since 2019, acquiring properties valued over $13 million. So, Mr. Corri Golden, thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Before we dive into our topic today about how to utilize home equity line of credits and credit cards to scale your real estate portfolio, I want to ask you, do you have a favorite real estate quote or mantra that drives you?
I do, Hutch, and I've had it for several years, and I was kind of ashamed to speak about it. I wanted to live a life like I'm always on vacation, and that didn't sit kind of quite right until I heard someone say it perfectly. They said, "Live a life that you don't need a vacation from," and so that right there has kind of been my angle, just trying to make a life that I don't need to go and take vacations from.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And as a real estate entrepreneur, man, one of the things, so I'm still active duty in the Marine Corps. And one of the things that my wife Athena and I, we value is to live a life that you don't mind leaving the ones you care about with,
Oh,
right?
that's good.
I consider that to be super powerful, right? So you get your life on this trajectory to where it's fulfilling for you, right? So every day you wake up and you're purposeful about the things you do, and you're purposeful about the time you spend with the ones you care the most about. So God forbid something happen, they understand what a good life is and they can continue
Right.
that trajectory. You know what I mean? So that's good, man. So I talked to you bio, man. He talks about mostly about your professional background. Let's talk a little bit more about who Corri is. Let's give our audience a little bit more about who you are as a spiritual being.
Yeah, so of course, my name is Corey. I'm from the southeast of the United States, Nashville, Tennessee. I grew up graduating out of high school. I thought I was going to be a professional tennis player, and once those realizations came, they came down and hit me hard. I wanted to actually get into investing in real estate. Unfortunately, I listened to a assistant manager who told me that I couldn't. I needed a lot of money to do it. I was completely distraught and actually crushed my dreams. But I still love real estate. And so I moved back east. I was living in LA at the time, but I moved back east, started going to school, got a degree in business and real estate urban development. I was lucky enough to jump on with the brokerage company, and I became affiliate commercial real estate affiliate broker. Did that for several years until the crash happened. It kind of left me wondering, did a lot of traveling, living in different places. Buenos Aires, Argentina for about 5 years. Came back because I was making a lot of debt in dollars and I was making money in Argentinian pesos. So that doesn't quite equal up, right? But I came back. The only thing I had was real estate in my life. So I got involved with commercial real estate property management. I was doing that for about 4 or 5 years, not really enjoying it. I saw my people ahead of me kind of having nervous breakdowns. And I just realized that's not something I wanted for my life. I decided to leave that. But my brother bought a ticket for me to go and check out this real estate seminar. I did that and I realized they was learning all the things that I hadn't learned probably about 15, 20 years ago. And so I started doing some more deeper diving, reading books, podcasts like yours and things of that nature. And I realized I can invest in real estate. And so back in 2019, I started my education first and then the investing and the action came afterwards. And so since then, there's been no looking back when it comes to investing.
Oh man, you said a piece of information there that I really hope that our listeners key into. Sometimes we think about the little things that we can do for others that could put their life on a trajectory that they're meant to go on. So you say your brother bought you a ticket to a real estate conference. Tell us some more about that and why your brother felt that was important.
He didn't purchase the tickets for me, if we're just
Okay.
being completely honest. He wanted
Yep.
me to go there, learn about real estate, come back and give him all the knowledge so he can
Okay.
invest in the real estate or so we can invest in real estate together. He just realized that I was kind of in this space where I was trying to search for something to do entrepreneur wise. And he realized that I had experience in real estate. I can go up there and learn all I can, bring the knowledge back to Nashville, and maybe him and I can start investing together.
So how did that relationship transpire in regards to real estate?
Well, my brother, he owns a couple of businesses right now. So he was too overwhelmed to kind of start anything else. And so for me, I was kind of looking for something to do. Once I
Yeah.
attach myself to something, I become absolutely obsessed. Which, unfortunately, he didn't jump on board with the real estate aspect of everything. I just went out there solo and tried to see how I can make it happen myself.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that. So you went to this real estate conference, right? Where we go on a regular basis to several real estate conferences per year. It costs your time, it costs money for plane ticket, hotel,
All right.
food, drinks, rent a car, a bunch of different things, right? But the value that we get from the information or the different strategy or tactics and the relationship that we're seeking, the value that we get is priceless, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about your transition from absorbing the knowledge to be like, okay, this aligns with exactly what I want to do. Let's talk about that transition of you started taking action. What does that first action look like?
Yeah, well, the first thing I did is I took some time off and I defined what I wanted my life to look like. So I literally sat down, took 2 weeks off of just trying to do anything, come up with any kind of idea of where I wanted to
Right.
go to next. I sat down and realized, all right, this is what I want my life to look like to a T. What can I do to help me go there and go down that road and reach that journey or reach that goal? Real estate ticked there all the boxes, right? If I was in real estate when I was living in Buenos Aires, I wouldn't have had those issues with getting debt in dollars.
Yeah.
But so real estate ticked all those boxes. And so with the education, reading a lot, I just took action because I was afraid of what not taking action would look like 5 years down the line. So that's been my biggest propeller at this point of what if I don't do X, Y, and Z? What will my life look like? Opposed from the opposite version of that of what if I do something right now and it fails? What would my life look like?
No, man. So I learned a strategy a while ago to talk about, you say that planning is going to the future, right? Bringing it to the present and then doing something about it. A lot of us are not willing to really sit down and clearly map out what is important to us. And sometimes we don't even know what the hell we want. You know what I mean? So the fact that you actually sit down and did that for yourself, I'm pretty sure your future self is giving you kudos for that. So it's important for us to do things that our future self isn't really going to thank us for. Kudos for you for making this move. So for us, our first move into making real estate a business was in 2017. We went to a real estate conference and we actually paid for some education, which cost us about $10,000 for the actual education. And when you're spending that kind of money, but also the time to absorb that information, it makes you now want to go take massive action. So we started flipping and then actually transitioned into multifamily right around the time that you got into multifamily as well, in 2019. So you start taking action. So you map out your life. You realize real estate is the thing that's going to help you to do the quality of life that you want, right? So now how did you start executing in real estate after you got clear on what you wanted?
Yeah, well, after education and the fundamentals of the credit score and kind of
Yeah.
making sure I'm actually lendable, I actually thought about I was going to land on the strategy of owner occupied loans, 3.5% down or 5% down, just get one a year, and that would be great. And I did do that until I listened to a podcast that told me there was another option of going direct to the seller. And so
Right.
I started doing that. I had a little money in the bank saved up. But I also heard, and you mentioned about how valuable these conferences are. Someone spoke about purchasing real estate with business credit cards. And so that was a complete game changer for me because I didn't want to spend my own capital in trying to get some of these real estate properties. It's much better to kind of put it, if you're responsible, right? It's much
Correct.
better to kind of use a business credit card, 0% interest for the first year. And that was the way that I kind of leveraged that to get my first couple of properties. And so I was able to get several business credit cards up to almost about $200,000. And I was in the single family mind frame at the time. And I was just able to chop off and get a couple of single family properties just using that strategy.
Okay, man. Tell us a little bit more about a strategy, right? Because credit card debt right now is through the ceiling. And I trust that not everyone is actually leveraging, what I like to call free money, especially in this economy that we're in right now. Not everyone is leveraging free money to actually serve as a catalyst towards their financial future. Tell us a little bit more about how to do that responsibly with credit card. And I want to hear some more about how you leverage the home equity line of credits to actually scale. But let's talk about the credit card. How can one do that responsibly in real estate?
Well, first of all, the buying right is the biggest step of all of this, right?
All right.
You have to go to direct the seller and buy a property, distressed property below market value. That's what I sought after. I sought after people who needed some help, basically. Maybe they were
Right.
underwater with their payments, or maybe they couldn't afford some of these payments for the renovations. And so I sought after those so I can actually help and actually get a win-win, right? And so in doing so, the next biggest tip is to go to the small community banks, right? You
Right.
go to small community banks, and then what you're also going to do is tie on the top of the loan, you can tie in a construction loan on top of that. So essentially what they did was I presented them with what it would take to get this property up to market value. Let's say it's $20,000. So they loaned me how much it would take down the property. Let's say it's $80,000. It took
Mhm.
$20,000 to renovate the property. So that's another $20,000. They just basically tied that together. So
Okay.
essentially, I use my business credit card to put down the down payment. Also, what's great for that is with the business credit card, you get a lot of these points so you can kind of do some traveling to these conferences like you mentioned free.
Yes.
So I use the credit cards for the down payment and also for the construction costs. The small bank just basically cut me a check once it was done. They wanted to verify that the work had been done. So they cut me a check. I used that check basically to pay off what I owed on the credit card.
I think you did. And it's definitely a responsible way to use credit cards, right? So you have all essentially use debt to purchase an asset, right? And you're not just using that to buy a single family home that you're going to move into and rack up more additional costs buying furnitures and all the living expenses and all the crazy mess, right? You understand what the highest and best use was for these properties, and you was able to present that to the bank, to where the bank be like, Mr. Golden, that makes sense. And then you execute on the business plan, and you also had a strategy to exit that property, right? And repay the bank or pay off the seller if it's a seller financing. And you now can pay off the credit card plus level it up with some cash in your pocket on the backside. And of course, now you have the credit cards plus some cash that you can just do it over and over and over again,
Exactly.
right? And can continue to scale your business. So there's a plethora of way for us to use other people's money to scale our real estate endeavor. I learned something a few years ago. He said, borrow money long term at low interest rates and buy income producing assets. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Sometimes it's not always income producing, but you can see the future value of the property. And because your business plan have you exiting this property at a shorter window, you don't get to hold on to this debt to where it becomes a problem. So that's a unique strategy, man. So let's talk about what intrigued you to utilize this home equity line of credit. But I would like for you to tie it into, purchasing that property and getting to the point where you felt you had the education and you felt you had the systems in place to actually leverage the home equity line of credit to scale. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so the line of credit came into play. I had so much equity in these properties, I started to take a line of credit out on them. So I've gotten my money back from the bank just for the renovations and the down payment. I set up a line of payment, let's say $50,000 on the first property. Now I'm able to use that line of credit to purchase another property, basically. And so once I did that, I just duplicated and kept on duplicating it. Luckily enough, my marketing strategy was working at this time. I was able to get 14 doors in that first year, all utilizing other people's money, utilizing the credit cards, then on the back end, utilizing a line of credits, which was absolutely great game changer. And even now that I'm into larger multifamily at this point, I am now using a line of credit just to invest passively in these larger deals. And so I'm able to invest in these deals, use the cash flow from the other properties to pay it off. And now I'm able to reinvest in even more deals. So these line of credits, the credit cards have paid me back tremendously. And I'm grateful that I learned these strategies. I actually had mentors and listen to people like yourself and other people on the internet and these books to kind of teach me the strategies.
Oh man. So in an environment where they're telling us that, look, man, the best thing for you to do is buy a house and pay it off in 30 years and that you don't have a mortgage. So there's a lot of folks that have that mindset of the paying off a mortgage, right? And they take them 30 years. In fact, I'm looking at a few properties here in Hawaii, and what I'm seeing is that a lot of us we pay off these properties over 30 years, and then holy crap, man, the inevitable happen. We die. And then once we die, our kids, one of the things they do is liquidate that asset. Right. You spend all these years buying two or three properties for the bank, right, by
Yeah.
paying off these mortgage and never really use the leverage in those properties to really be as a catalyst to the creative fulfillment and enjoyment that you can actually have. Because once you leave, the people that you leave behind, chances are they don't want the things that you wanted. Their goals are a little different. So tell us about the mindset that it takes to really leverage a line of credit to actually scale your real estate investment. I understand the concept, but tell us about the mindset that it requires.
Yeah, so I mean, mindset is absolutely everything at the point, right? For me, it started with education, surrounding myself with other people who have done similar things.
Yep.
So I was actually part of a mentorship where if I had any questions, I can ask the actual mentor these questions and he would answer them. And so I kind of felt like I had somebody behind my back to pick me up if I was going in the wrong direction. And
Yeah.
so that helped tremendously once it came to the mindset. But along with that, I have this roadmap of where I want to go. I have a roadmap of how to get there. And so once I have that, once I can clearly see what I want my life to look like, I'm going to research it, do some education, ask other people who've been there before just what they think about it. And
Yep.
if it looks good, my mindset is to keep on going through any kind of no's that I may get, any kind of walls that I may come across and just go towards I reach that goal. And so my mindset was just laser focused on just doing that. This was a great way to keep my own money, right?
Yep.
And kind of leverage other people's money. And so the biggest thing, and also is it helps one with the line of credits, it helps me just feel good to know that I'm actually, when I'm paying this line of credit off, I'm paying myself back. So I'm paying myself back just to do something else with it as far as investing. And so it didn't feel as bad as if I was paying the bank back. I'm technically paying myself back if you
Yep.
look at it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One of the strategies that our veterans have, and we have a lot of veterans that listen to this podcast, is the thrift savings plan. And if you in a position where you can leverage the cash value in your thrift savings plan, you can actually take a loan out from yourself at a very low interest rate, right? And you can use that to invest into an income producing asset at a higher yield. So for example, you're taking a loan from your thrift savings plan that even though it's going to reduce the cash value, loan is going to be right around 3 or 4%. But if you are investing in a property where the return is projected to be around an average annual return of say 16%, you now have a 12 to 13 delta in your return on the money that's invested. And if the property is cash flowing, then that money could potentially be paying off your thrift savings plan loan.
That's
So you get to use your money to level up. Additionally, if you're doing the infinite banking concept, which is something that I'm interested in doing in the future, if you're doing the
mm,
infinite banking concept, then you get to leverage your money in two different locations where you have your money in your whole life insurance, but you get to leverage a line of credit against the cash value and you use that to buy income producing
Yep.
asset at a high yield, and then the delta can prove to be profitable for you, and also using that income from the investment to actually pay back that line of credit on your life insurance. It
Yeah,
is so many
it's
different
amazing what
ways.
you can do when you network and just kind of when you study this stuff. It's amazing what kind of options are out there.
Correct. And I like that you had a mentor, right? Mentor help us to navigate life in general, right? Well, coaches are more short term to get to a specific part of your journey. While when you talk
Mhm.
about mentor, you want somebody that's going to take you through the trajectory of where you see your life going. And I trust that you listen to who is saying what as a mentor and ensure that they continue to elevate themselves and they can take your life to the next level as well. So it's good to hear that you had mentor, you committed to lifelong learning, to listen to podcasts, reading books, and also being in the close proximity to people who are going places. Because I often talk about partnership, relationship, and friendships, those ships that take us like to take our life from different places, right, to ensure that we are continuously improving. So glad
That's
to hear
right.
that you value partnership, relationship, and friendship.
I mean, I
People,
had no other choice because no one in my family was investing. No one in my sphere of influence were investing. So I had to leverage someone else's experience. And so once I joined that group, it kind of put me around other people. That's where
right?
those friendships were nurtured. Had the mentorship there. And so you're exactly right. I had to put myself in that situation because
Yeah.
growing up, that wasn't the surrounding that I was around.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. Let's talk a little bit more about the home equity line of credit. So if we have a property that we can pull the equity out at a lower interest rate and we can roll a couple of $100,000 over into multi-family properties, that is something that is attractive to me. So we can utilize the home equity line of credit to scale. We can also use refinance with the idea that a loan does not trigger a taxable event. So a lot of folks do that through 1031 exchange where they sell a property and they use that money to level up, right? To buy a bigger property, to buy a bigger income stream. The same can be true about when you refinance one of your properties. You can use that capital. So you borrow money at a low interest rate long term and invest in income producing asset as long as those numbers make sense, right? So one might say that strategy does not work in this environment where we have higher interest rates. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, so I still look at it on a whole because there's more than
Right,
just cash from cash return when you're
right,
investing in multifamily, right? You can still look at it as the equity play or equity multiple. If you doubling your money, basically,
right.
that's great, right? If you're a line of credit, if the interest rate and what you're getting as far as the return of this deal is kind of a wash, that's still great in my eyes. But also you look at the depreciation that you get off of this play. For me, I have other properties that's making some cash flow. So it's helping offset what Uncle Sam might be reaching his hand out for.
Right.
So for me, it's not only just a cash flow play, it's depreciation that I'm scoring in. It's actually the how my equity is going to be multiplied in, let's say, 5 to 7 years. It's more just a cash flow play. So if it's a wash, that's great. Even if I got to pay a little $50 a month, that still might be great. My other properties are it's going to pay it off. It's going to be amplified that way. And so you just have to look at your portfolio or look at what you can afford to take on as far as debt and just kind of analyze and see if it's worth it. But like I said, this bonus appreciation and equity multiple is great. And so you get enough of these kind of on this little conveyor line. You get enough of them. Once it reaches capital event, whether it's a refinance or whether it's a sale, you just pour it back in there. And then this generational wealth, which you're talking about,
Yeah.
is going to start growing and growing and growing exponentially.
Yes, sir. So I hear some folks, they invested 50 grand, which is a big deal to a lot of us, right? Investing 50 grand into real estate syndication is a big deal, but it's not going to create generational wealth, right? If we live to maybe 200 years old, it might at some point. But imagine if you were able to save and invest $50,000 every single year for the next 5 to 10 years. If you think about it, if you're disciplined about your returns, your cash flow, and also your proceeds from sale, every 5 years, you technically are doubling $50,000. So 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
that 50 turns into 100, and you get to leverage that into a different investment. I think after 5 years, life become interesting because you now at 5 years, if you're keeping that $50,000 mindset or the tactics going, at year five, potentially in reinvesting or investing $150,000, right? And just getting more and more interesting every year after that. And then you get to 10 years, that 150 now turned into $300,000. And now you start investing $350,000 and life becomes super interesting, man. And a lot of us, we want to live forever, but we know that's not going to happen. When you start thinking about the possibility of investing $400,000 a year, that's game changing money, right? That could put your life in a position where you realize the compound effect of investing $50,000 every year, that level of discipline into a trust, right? And you have taken the time to educate your children and possibly grandchildren of the effect of what's happening, and then set a vehicle to where they don't dismantle that once you pass away, right? Then that could be like the Rockefellers do, to where your monies continue building throughout generation. But you have to have that vision that you really want to create for your family, and ensuring that we're educating the future generation. They can just keep that snowball going. So hey, Corri, man, I really appreciate you stopping by, man. And we can talk about this topic forever and ever, because it is so transformational whenever we learn about how money works and how we can use our active income, or we can use the equity in our properties to definitely scale and improve our financial status. So, Corri, we're going to get into what we call the focus round, which is just a fire round with an acronym. So, Corri, you're in Portugal right now. Actually, I think that's where my wife's long time ago family is from. Anyway, what do you do for fun, Corri?
Go surfing.
Okay. All right. What is one opportunity that was a game changer for you?
One opportunity game changer was just to get started in real estate.
All
I
right.
owe a lot to real estate. It's allowed me to go after the 3 degrees of freedom: financial, location, and time.
So, what is your favorite communication tip?
To listen and understand first.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood. I love it. What is one thing you wish you understood earlier?
I just wish I would understand the power of not just accepting no. When I first started out in real estate, I was told I couldn't do it. And I was making minimum wage at the time. So I just said, okay, yes, instead of digging deeper and understanding
Right.
why. And now, as I'm investing more and more, I still think about the opportunity, which was 20 years ago. If I didn't allow that to derail my progress, where would I be? Right. But I'm not looking at it as like a negative aspect. I've certainly learned from it. I'm utilizing what I've learned from it even today when it comes to looking for different lenders, when it comes to looking for construction, when it comes to looking for anything. If I get a no, I'm trying to figure out why. And I want to hear if I can find 10 more no's before I realize that's actual truth.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Help me to understand how can I be more qualified in the position. And then as you go to the next no, you are actually improving, right? You're improving what the value that you bring
Right.
to get asking those questions, man, or to what you're seeking to do. I was listening to Don Wenner. He wrote the book Building an Elite Organization. And he was talking about someone he employed. And this guy went through their hiring system and score like off the chart. But I think he got like one question wrong, right? Even though this guy did so good on the test, where it was pretty much a guaranteed position, he was the only person that ever asked, what did I get wrong? What could I improve on? You know what I mean? So it's impressive to hear that you want to see how can you improve? Like, what is the silver lining behind that no, and how can I use that to get to where I want to go eventually? So that's dope. I like that, man. So last one, to what do you attribute your success?
People around me, to be honest with you, I have a super supportive family. Everyone's just pouring into me. They help when they can. They give good advice. They're nurturing. And so it's the people around me, people that God has placed in my life that allow me to keep on pushing forward.
That is awesome, man. I appreciate you for joining us today. Now, Corri, any last minute word for our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it goes back to that quote that you mentioned earlier with this whole COVID and things like that. I've lost several people in my life. And so that's where living a life you don't need a vacation from. That's what
Right?
sparked this move to Lisbon and Portugal. There's something that you have out there that you want to kind of go for. Just go for it. Life can sometimes be too short. Just kind of create a vision where you want to go to and just make those steps to go that direction. Surround yourself with the people who are doing the same thing or have done the same thing, and then live a life you'll need a vacation from.
That's dope, man. Now, Corey, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, I got the website, investwithgolden.com. Of course, Gold is my last name. I'm
Yeah.
on Instagram. This is my name, Corri Golden, Corri. Also on LinkedIn, same Corri Golden name. It's pretty unique because it's an awkward spelling of Corri. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Now, look, man. So the information from this episode was, I think it's power because it challenges some societal norm. They say that when the mind is open to the possibility, your eyes and ears will be open to the opportunities. Corey definitely painted a picture that can change some paradigm or should be paradigm shifting for you as you go back and listen to some of the tactics that he utilized to ensure that he can realize his investment journey. Definitely reach out to the links that he provide on LinkedIn, Instagram, or different social media platform, or just reach out to him on his website to learn a little bit more of how you can improve the financial trajectory by crushing limiting belief and crushing those constraints that society's put on us, just leveraging those things to get to where you want to go. So thank you again for listening to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment Podcast. I'm Hutch the Marine Investor, out.